Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Diversity is Lit Book Club. This is our November discussion of Our Shadows Have Claws,
Yay.
15 Latin American monster stories, edited by Yamile Salad Mendez and Amparo Ortiz. And I need to give a shout out illustrations by Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. Oh, I wonder if that's
Mr.
Amparo's
Ken.
yeah, husband or something like that.
Yeah.
And many of the other authors in here that we will talk about. So we've got some lovely co-hosts here. One will be coming in shortly. Another one can't make it, but she will be hopping into the comments later. I see Felicia is here saying hi. Aw, so happy to have you here.
Hello.
So, well, Felicia knows me, so but if anyone else is new that joins later or is watching the replay, I'm Holly. I'm the author of A Diamond Bright and Broken, which will be coming out April 2nd, 2024. It's a YA epic fantasy, a tangled retelling with a female Flynn writer, disability, and LGBTQ rep. So if that's something you're interested in, you can check it out. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about this book. T, you want to introduce
Hi,
yourself?
I'm Teresa Beasley. Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, I'm Teresa Beasley. I write under the pen name T.A. Beasley. I write thrillers, and I'm also a podcaster over at A Reader's Book Corner on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And I'm glad to talk about this book so I can get a refresher course because I read it like in November, like the beginning of November, and I kind of forgot some of the stories. So I look forward to our discussion so I can get a refresher course on the book.
Yes. And I didn't review anything, so I have tons of notes, and I'll just be pleasantly surprised along with you.
Yes, because I was reading it at like, it was the end of October, the beginning of November when I read it
Cool.
before I realized that we were picking it for the
Oh.
club. So I was like, oh, I've already read that, but okay.
All right. Hi, I'm Vanessa, co-writer Vanessa Read Books. On all my platforms, I am a fantasy, paranormal, and horror writer, diversity reader, editor, and book publisher, all the different hats. So, yeah, this will be an interesting discussion. One, I didn't finish all of the stories in here, and two, I've been in such a reading slump lately, and having a hard time to read. I don't even know if I'm gonna remember much from the stories that I did read.
Okay, so me and Vanessa's on the same page.
Except I read these recently, but my I my head wasn't there.
Yeah, there were some I
Yeah.
kind of yeah. So anyways, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
um, so heads up, we will be talking spoilers. So if you're okay with hearing about what happened in these short stories, then you can keep watching. If not, click away, read the book, come back and watch our discussion and participate in the comments. A quick note on the trigger warnings for Our Shadows Have Claws include body horror, death, murder, racism, and homophobia. I feel like there's more than just that for all of the
Probably.
for all the things in here. I feel like there's more, but that was what I found. And I could have been on the lookout for those. But anyways, the first question that we have is what were your general general overall, wow, my brain was braining today at work. So what were your overall thoughts on the book? What would you rate it on Goodreads or otherwise? And if anyone is itching to go first, they are allowed to, or I can start.
Well, when I first read it, I was leisure reading it. So, and I did give it a 4 because I did like some of the stories in here. And then 2, I learned. It's funny to me how different cultures rather have like bedtime stories or stories that they tell their kids to get them to go to bed and stuff, and they're all totally different. And the stories I was told when I was younger have nothing on the stories from this book or some of the other cultures I've read. I was like, our little bedtime stories were kind of simple and not scary at all. But I did, like I said, I did enjoy some of the stories. This time when I tried to read it, I had the flu, so I really was trying to read it, but really couldn't like grasp things again because I was so sick. So, but I do know that I liked it the first time, so I'm just gonna go with that I liked it the first time. I can't say that I had any like favorite stories in here. There were some that I know I tabbed that had some interesting things going in them, but overall, I do think it's a good collection of stories.
Cool. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, but my real rating was a 4.5. Because there were some short stories that I liked more than others. Like there were some that I didn't really like resonate with. But there were others that I was like, oh, this is really, really good. So I think that kind of balanced it out between the 4 and 5. And so I rounded up because I think the Goodreads rating is a 4.02. So I was like, if I rated a 4, it'll go down. And I'm like, it's not quite a 4 for me. So that's why I gave it the 5. But I enjoyed it because like there were those different styles where there were some of the short stories had a little more of that horror element. Some were more just kind of like creepy. Others were a little more graphic. And so I felt like there was a lot of variety between them. Like everyone had a different kind of like villain or creepy thing about it. And then I really did enjoy the illustrations because I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know. And then, it wasn't until I started reading that I was like, oh, there's these illustrations before each short story. So I'll show a couple. Oh, that's a creepy one. El Viejo de la Bolsa. Okay, I'll show the creepy. El Viejo de la Bolsa, very creepy.
I thought the dismembered one, that was pretty cool.
Yes.
About her grandmother.
Yes. Is that El Donde el Duende? Let's see. The dismembered. Which number was that?
Was
it the 4th?
Oh, yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
Story.
Oh, second?
Yeah. I think it was the 6th one.
Oh, 6th. Okay. Here we
go. Yeah, that one. Where it's the dismemberment.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah, I'm excited to talk about that one.
Yeah, that was my favorite one.
Did I start? I was trying to star the ones that I really liked. Yeah, so and there were a lot of good quotes, some good messages, and like a lot of the stories like made me feel like I was rooting for that main character and was obviously not for the creepy monster. So I enjoyed it a lot.
How about you, Vanessa?
Yeah. So I overall I like it. I think kind of where I'm at right now is probably when I finish this, I'll be sitting at like a 4 stars. But I think I would enjoy this a lot more when I'm in a different mood and different mindset. Because I think that's affecting a lot of this. Because I do like the stories. I like the stories a lot in here, and the first one so far has been my favorite. The Nightingale and the Lark. That one, that one was like a Romeo Juliet type of story.
Yeah.
That one was my favorite so far, and um, and when I read that one, I was like, okay, so this is what I'm in for. This will be good, and it made me think of when we read of Beast and Beauty by Simone
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it made me think of that because it made me think of that when I was reading the first story because it was so good and so strong, and I kept highlighting quotes from that story that I'm like, ooh, I like this line and this line. And so yeah, overall I really like it. I give it 4. Probably would be higher if it wasn't for my mood and being in a slump right now.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair and that makes sense. And you know, and these aren't, the most happiest of stories. Though I know you
No.
do love your horror. Maybe some of these could be considered comfort horror. I don't know. Now I keep like
Yeah.
comfort horror is just my thing now. Hello, hello.
Hey,
Wow.
Alicia.
Hi, I'm so sorry for my tardiness, but I hope
Oh, you're
and
okay.
I hope you've all had a great conversation so far.
Yeah, you literally had perfect timing because we were just going over our general thoughts, and Vanessa just finished. So you, yeah, like literally popped in right on time.
Perfect. Well, I'll just do a quick intro and do some generals, and then we can go into some specifics if that's fine.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm writer Alicia Grumley. I will often participate in writing poetry and some YA fiction, often with a fairy tale twist. And I've got some nonfiction projects that I'm excited to be working on in the new year. So those are kind of where my pursuits generally lie. And I am thrilled to be back here again with these ladies with the knowledge that even though I may not always finish the books on time or at all, that I'm still welcome to join. So if you have not finished yet, I'm sure they've given the spoiler warning, but we will talk spoilers. Come back to us later and share your thoughts with us at some point if you don't like the spoilers, or if you do and you're like, oh, I just want to read those little ones, like perfect. So overall, what I have read, I have enjoyed so far, and this is different for me from last month because I was kind of like, oh, I don't love the horror last month, but these feel different for me because for the most part, this is not my cultural upbringing, right? Like I didn't grow up with these stories being in the culture of my upbringing, so I didn't necessarily have the ick factor that I don't like of like regular horror stories, right? For myself, from like in our last month discussion, and the just like kind of that like intrinsic fear about these. Like none of these stories were stories that I grew up being afraid of, as it were. But I have really enjoyed the ones I have read so far, and I've read several of them. And unlike last month, I will probably try to finish several more of them before I'm done with this, because they are shorter. They are, it is an anthology. I do like that part, which we do try to pick something that is more anthology-like for the month of November, because so many of us do participate in NaNoWriMo, which is a good kind of way to break up the month for us a little bit, we've found over the past few years. So that's something I enjoy, but I have really enjoyed short stories, and have kind of started dabbling in writing some myself in the past few years. But I think short stories are really interesting because you have fewer words to tell as much of a story as a novel sometimes, right? And like, I feel like the really good short stories are the ones that I want to see more of. Those short stories are kind of like movies where like they end just before you want them to. They end like, I want to see a full picture, right? And that's why I like novels so much. But I think short stories are intriguing in their design. And I think to be able to write a short story well is actually a little bit of a different skill set than writing a complete novel, because you do have to make every word count for 10 times the power, because you have a tenth of the words to get through, right? So I think all of that said, that even being not from the Latinx cultures that these stories maybe are more prevalent in, I do have a little bit of a Spanish background, so I know and I'm familiar with some of the vocabulary and some of the things, but it still kind of gives me that sense of like, ooh, like I like that feel of things. And it's different for me than like jump scare. Like I don't mind these kinds of mystical mythos. Like I'm interested in world mythos worldwide. So like this is very interesting to me. And yeah, of the ones I've read, I've really enjoyed all of them so far. I don't really have any where I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't think that about that again, or I wouldn't read that again, or I wouldn't recommend that again. So just general thoughts, pretty solid overall. And yeah, like if they came out with another edition of this, like if they came out with like Our Shadows Have Sharper Claws, right? As the right, like, oh, there it is. There's the title.
Tell him Faro Ortiz, yes.
Yes, Our Shadows Have Sharper Claws, the next installment. Right.
So good.
Like I would absolutely pick it up, even if it was a different set of 15, if it was more, if it was less, if it was a continuation of any of the stories that were in here, I would pick it up again. I would pick it up, or even if the only thing that was the same was it was the same two editors, I would pick it up. So yeah, I think that's as generalized as I can be without.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's a good point to bring up, that like, the short stories it's a different skill set, and it can be harder to write because you have to have like character introduction, world building, and the plot, beginning, middle, end, like all in however many words that they had. And I had mentioned, I'm like, oh, I felt, attached to the characters. I was rooting for them. And so it's like, that's a really, solid feat that they were able to do that within the page, page frame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say too that with the short stories, if anyone has the masterclass subscription, trying to remember who does the short story class on there, but I took it a few years ago now, and it's really good. So if anyone is wanting to write short stories, I tend to recommend that one.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
Trying to look up real quick the name. So I forget the author who does the class. I think it was something Oates. Sharon Oates or something. Let's see. Oh yeah, Joyce Carol Oates.
Oh yeah, I've
And
heard she's a pretty popular. Yeah.
it's called The Art of the Short Story.
Ooh.
So I actually have I actually did a blog post review of that masterclass when I took it a few years ago.
Oh, nice.
But I really liked it.
Yeah. One of the things I found I struggle with in short stories, even as I've started dabbling, is I like the idea so much where I'm like, oh no, this is no longer a short story. This is a trilogy. Like, and then there's this character and this character and this character and this character. This is not a short story. Like I tricked myself. I'm just gonna sit down to write a little short story.
That's hilarious.
Well, one thing that might help with that is the way I always think about it. When you're writing a short story, you want to focus on one singular event or that's happening. So that kind of helps rein things in when you're just like focused on one event or one essential thing happening.
Yeah. And short stories might just be something I end up doing for myself, right? Like it might just be something that's an exercise that I do for myself to try and like, because it's a fine line between a poem and a novel, right? Like, I mean, it's not a fine line, but it's kind of that Venn diagram, a circular center, but like a short story is between the poem and the, novel, because I can do the poem. Like, you get like one feeling, right? The poem is more one feeling or one like uniting theme rather than a moment or an event. So it would be a good exercise, I think, for me to do that and not get distracted by the other things. I'm just too curious. But if I can see it, I'm like, I can see it. Everybody else can see it too. Why can't they see it? Why I can see it? Well, I should let them see it too. So it's just. But I think it would be a good like training exercise to help my brain just be like, no, this is it. This is all you get.
Yep. So I know you, and I think it was Vanessa who had mentioned liking The Nightingale and the Lark, which was the first short story. Do you want to talk about that one?
Oh yes,
that was one of the ones that like I starred right away. I was like, oh, I know this is going to be a favorite of mine.
And that was my favorite of all the ones I've read. That is my favorite.
Yeah, that kind of that Romeo Juliet kind of like the spin on it, and just like the twists of like, oh, the monster is, what is it? The Cagliero is going to be Julio, and then it turned out to be his brother, but then he really
the Mercutio. The brother is the Mercutio character.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. What?
Yeah.
So when I was saying earlier, when I said it reminded me of Beast and Beauty, because you know how in that book the first line in it, I was like, oh, so this is where we're going with these stories. This is going to be good. And The Nightingale and the Lark, it's not the first line, but it's on the last line of the first page of the ebook. I don't know about the physical, but in the ebook it says, "But be warned, this story is both a lesson and a curse." Most are.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so this is where we're going with this. I like it.
And even though it starts and it goes into like pebbles struck the window, I didn't realize it was a Romeo and Juliet spin until several pages later. And I mean, that is my Shakespeare story. If I know a Shakespeare, it's Romeo and Juliet. But I was nowhere thinking that this was Shakespeare. And then it was like Julio and then Rosa. And then it was when I saw their last names, I went, wait a minute.
Monteguero and Capos.
The Capos and the Monteguero.
And I was like, oh, I know this. But you don't often see the Romeo Juliet gender swap on that either. So I really liked that.
That's true.
Because, like, Rosa is the Romeo, Julio is the Juliet, right? So, like, you don't often see that way of the gender swap, and that is interesting in itself, because that shows me that story, that Shakespeare wrote that well enough that even, hundreds of years later, we can take that and take something that seems so integral to the story and make the feuding families and make it so that these archetypes and these character arcs that they both have to experience and that they go through really are universal experiences. So far, it seems like, like I've never seen a Romeo and Juliet spin that's terrible. And I mean, we've read another one that I love, Tyrion Club, right? Like, Our Violent Delight, like,
yes,
or these delights in Our Violinets, right? So, yeah, I loved it. 100% loved that one. I was like, oh, good call. I said the same thing. I love the thing. I love the references. Yeah, just all good. Great first introduction to this collection for me.
Yeah, and it was just heartbreaking with the dad, like, and she's like, duty, I had a new definition of it now. And like, for now, every Cagliero you meet is me. They're all me. And you will have to look in their eyes before you raise your pistol or draw your machete. And like, she still tells her dad that she loves him. Like, I noted that. Like, and so I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so heartbreaking. So like, I feel like could be one of the stories that they continued, what happened to her when she did fly away.
When she did. Yeah.
Right. Because that's always the question of what would have happened if Romeo and Juliet had lived. I think that was Chloe Gong's, whole point. What is it possible that they escaped?
Yes. Oh, so good. Yeah, that was a really good one, and that was by Chantal Acevedo. So, good job, Chantal. Let's see. Yeah, so I liked that. What you were saying too about like the the Latinx culture, because it's like, for me, it's like, oh, I know like the Chupacabra and like, I don't even know, but like these were all, I was like, well, I've never heard of El Viejo de la Bolsa. And it's like, yeah, he eats the kids and then takes, hides their bones with other people's bones.
Oh.
Alicia, I muted you because, okay, here we go. It like doubled up somehow. Okay.
Let
me see. Oh, I can't. Okay, I think she muted herself because I can't unmute her. Are you here, Alicia? Okay, sorry. It was so scary. Bones.
It's because of the spooky stories.
Yeah, and it's funny because like then the parents like, oh, the kids will disappear because they don't eat their food. And that's how they say that, so that the kids like eat all of their food, but then it's like, no, he's real. But then he was really reuniting them with their families, and like, so it was like this twist. I really enjoyed the twists. Oh, let's see.
Now, is that the story that also?
Okay, sorry.
I think there she is. Is that the story that also had where the I guess the sister invited them to the home to give her son relief? So
that's the Duende one, right?
Isn't that the Duende one where she invites the family and then the son is acting really weird and him and the cousin have been very close, and then all of a sudden she starts acting like he's acting?
Yeah, that's
and you realize
El Duende.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you realize that she invited him there for a reason, so that the cousin could take his place.
Oh, that was so creepy. Yeah.
I was like, oh, the nerve of her to do that to them.
But these monsters are creepy. They live in the walls of the kids' rooms, eat their toes if they're bad. Like, oh my gosh, I would be eating my dinner. I would be behaving. Like, they would have me straight. So like, El Viejo de la Bolsa and El Duende are coming after me, you know.
Right. That's why I was like, our little bedtime stories and the stories our parents told us. I was like, it has
Boogeyman.
nothing on these.
We just had like the boogeyman, monsters in the closet.
Yeah. Like
you
simple
know.
stuff, like something's under your bed and it's gonna get you if you don't go to sleep. But these, I'm like, whoa.
Right, but it's also the Latinx cultures that have La Lorena, right? Like the woman
Oh
who
yeah, that's
comes,
true.
so
Comes
it's
to
like,
take the kids.
ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something a little bit spookier, I think, that it like the Americanized bedtime stories aren't nearly as creepy, which is like
Yes.
talks to like that like new world, that new setup, because maybe it's such a melding pot of cultures and backgrounds and all of that no one strand has kind of like taken over in terms of that like mindset, right, of like the
Mhm.
horror. But like, yeah, it was cool to read these. I did enjoy
Yeah.
the read.
Yeah. And some of these authors in here I hadn't heard before. So it was a nice introduction to some new authors. Because I know one, Ortega, didn't we feature her
Yeah.
book
Yeah,
before?
Witchlings.
Yeah, twice.
The Witchlands, yes. Twice. Was it twice or?
I thought
Well,
we
and
Didn't
then
we do
we
one before?
nominated Frizzy.
Yeah. Okay, we did nominate Fizzy. Yeah, because she was the main person I knew in here. But
Yeah.
it was a nice introduction to some new authors
Yeah,
to
I
look
think she
out
was
for.
like the only one I knew.
Yeah.
I think I
So
knew Acevedo, Chantal Acevedo too. I'd heard of or read something perhaps,
oh
but
nice.
yeah.
The only one I knew in here was Clarabelle Ortega.
Another one that I really enjoyed for a lot of different reasons was the fourth one, Beware the Empty Subway Car
Mm-hmm.
by Micah and Maritza Mulit, which I don't know if they're sisters or because yeah, they have the same last name. So but I like noticed right away this is in second person point of view
Mm-hmm.
because it's saying you. And so like I think that gave it like a really good spin because I haven't read anything in second person point of view since Ash Lords by Scott Rankin, which was like maybe 2 years ago. So it's very rare, but I think it was very well done. And
Sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go.
I was just gonna say this is one I had particularly wanted to talk to Vanessa about because there was it's a Haitian story, right? Like, isn't that what they had said?
Which one?
Beware the Empty Subway Car.
Beware the Empty Subway Car.
Oh yeah, a Lugaroo, mythical werewolf in Haiti.
Mm-hmm. But the Garou part I knew was werewolf, so I didn't know if you had any relation or understanding, previous knowledge going into this myth before reading it. Because
I knew about the Rougarou from Native American culture because I read another book earlier this year called Empire of the Wild that was Native American by an indigenous author, and it had Rougarou. It had a character that was a Rougarou.
Right, and even when we read Warrior Girl on Earth, they talked about that word is one that typically translates across languages, implying werewolf. But I've never experienced a werewolf like in that story in any of my reading, because usually the shape-shifting is a very specific, like dog like animal, right? But I mean, we saw snake, we saw tarantula, we saw just all of that, and I thought that was really fascinating. So I was just wondering if anybody.
Now that you mention it, because I was also listening to the audio for part of this as well. So I think I might have missed when they said this was, from Haiti or Haiti. And also my parents growing up never told us any stories of any
Okay.
Jesus.
No.
So I wouldn't have known, but and now that you point that out, it makes sense because when I was reading the story, and they were saying Tati, and I was like, that's what we say. That's what we call her.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, on page 81 in the physical book, it's it's like kind of midway down on the page. It says Tati finishes with what is clearly her least favorite part of the story. On the last day, we went to visit Madame Charles, an old friend who left Haiti many years ago. She's like us, you know. You start to nod, but quickly stop yourself. And so that was kind of the first moment there that I caught it, I think. But that one was really fascinating to me, just in terms of how the shape shifting presented for that main character.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. Like she turned into the dog, like after
And the
Tati was
boar.
caught.
Yeah.
And she, she was eavesdropping on the townspeople to hear about like, oh yeah, where is she? I think she's still alive.
I think this one is going to be one that I'll probably go back and reread because that one, I don't think I actually read the physical. I was just listening to the audio for that story, and I think there's several things I probably missed.
Yeah. That would be, and when you do, please like either get on our Goodreads thing to let us know, or pop in our messenger group and let me know, or whatever. But I would definitely be interested in hearing your thoughts about that story specifically, just because of your Haitian connection. So
yeah.
Well, and that ending had like it was kind of a cliffhanger ending,
right.
But I like because she says, or she asked the boy if he believes in fate or choice, and he says a bit of both. You hold his hand, take a sniff, and make your choice. I think that she eats him.
Do you? I was thinking she didn't.
I think she does. She did because of Bokor's reading, where he said, nothing that comes into your life will stay. He says you'll love briefly before ruining it. Even though I don't know who said this, there is fate and there is choice. Whichever prevails is up to you. But I don't know. I thought that she ate him.
I did think she probably ate him too. I was thinking
because she just ate her dad.
Well, she ate her dad, but he left her. He didn't choose her. He left. He came back. He ran away. He was afraid of what her mom was. So I thought she went the other way because she made a point to say, like, the pizza fills me, but not like a regular or a full meal would or something. Like, so she was giving herself, like, yeah, I think I could live like this and not eat him. Like, because he's interesting and, like, something.
Oh, I want to know. We have to ask. We have to ask them what happened.
Shit, I don't know. Like that's so. Once again, this is a great short story because the argument can go either way, right? Like,
I think for me it's because when the last couple lines says, "You hold his hand and squeeze, taking another sniff, stand clear of the closing door, please. You make your choice." And so that I was thinking she probably ate him.
Right, but maybe they got off the car together. We don't know. Like, she could have been hearing that as they were leaving.
Yeah.
And then there's another empty car that she's not responsible for. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Maybe I just hoped that she didn't eat him because it was giving her a different life choice or something, or they. I think, and I'm not saying they in a way of being derogatory. I'm saying they because the character had said, "You are in your favorite form right now, a 16-year-old girl." But there's some, like, I'm not trying to be derogatory by putting they in quotation marks. I'm using they because I don't feel like I have a strong lean one way or the other. But with that piece of information, you're in your most chosen form or your favorite form, a 16-year-old or a teenage girl. So I have been saying she, but perhaps they is a better pronoun choice there.
Pronoun choice, yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I was just to say, that one was really fascinating to me. Like, if the Romeo and Juliet hadn't had the those connections, that may have been the empty subway car. May have been my favorite. What were you saying, Vanessa?
There was two things I was going to say. I forgot what the first one was. But the other thing I was going to say is I like that they included this story as well. And I don't know, I'd have to look up the author of the story to know, are they Haitian, like what's their background and stuff?
Sure.
Because I think it's I like that they included it because whenever we think of Latin stories or we think of Latino, we always associate it with Spanish speaking countries. And
Haiti, French. Yeah.
Right. Haiti is French, not Spanish. And so I think for a lot of people, including a lot of Haitians themselves, they don't consider themselves Latino or Latina. And I remember when I was, learning more about Haiti and the Latin countries and stuff, and I'm thinking, what are the countries in Latin America that makes us Latinas too? So I guess I would be a Latina.
Yeah.
And but I remember thinking that, and I'm like, technically, yes, I am Latina, but there also came this like imposter feeling associated with it. Like I'm like, I don't know about using Latina for myself, just because that's not usually what most people associate when they think of Latino or Latino.
Oh, sure. That would be an interesting conversation to have, like a further commentary on, like maybe even on your channel, Vanessa, of like that cultural border conversation. Like, because I'm very fascinated by that piece of what you're saying.
Found a TikTok video of someone kind of talking about this and pointing out, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty true. Pointing out the fact that I think a lot of it comes down to, even within a lot of Latin communities, there's an anti-Black sentiment within Latin cultures, Latin communities. And so, kind of distance yourself from that. I think that's why certain countries that would be considered Latin, people don't really think of it as so.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is something that is a Western world thinking, or if the like Eastern parts of the world or parts of Europe or whatnot would say, yes, obviously this is Latin America because, you know, if we're drawing this circle on the map, right? Like, so I agree that I think in Western culture, most of the time Haitian wouldn't typically be in with a Latin America labeling. I don't know if that's an appropriate term or not, but like under that umbrella, right? But I would be interested in knowing if we had anybody, like any other readers in the club from the other parts of the world who have thoughts about that. Like if you're from a different part of the world than the United States, like we all are, or Haitian or Haiti, by culture and familial relations for Vanessa, do you think of Haiti as part of Latin America? Like, because I think that would be a really interesting point for us to know, right? Because we only know what we know through our views.
And the most interesting part of this is when I was looking up info about this, I found out that the term Latin America was actually coined by a Frenchman.
Okay.
Considered.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which is very interesting. And I wonder then if it goes back to the root language, because French and Spanish, English technically are under a Romance language, right? Which is like Latin Romance languages, you know? So maybe there's a little bit of that, like from the Frenchman who coined it, like that there was more.
It was supposed to be referred to any country there that was colonized by one of the countries that had the Romance language. So French, Spanish, I think Portuguese was one, I believe, I can't remember. But yeah, all the Romance languages.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I did go to their website, and they are sisters, Miami native, daughter of Haitian immigrants.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it is an Own Voices story then, which is great. Like,
yes.
And I think I kind of got the impression that that these were all Own Voices stories. Did anybody else agree or disagree with that?
I think so.
No, I agree. Yeah.
And I think, like, I mean, in the back of the physical copy, I don't know if the e-readers have this or the audiobooks do, but they do give a mini biography of each of the authors. So, yeah, but that one was a really interesting story. So yeah, I don't know. Did they eat him? I want to say no, but I'm also not atypical in being off the beat of the group in terms of thought.
You know what? I just realized that, you know, it's the second person POV, so like that's why they did it, because if it's us, if we're the Luguru, like we can decide what the ending is. We can decide if we ate him or not. So maybe each sister says, well, I would have eaten him. The other one said I didn't.
Oh, shoot. That makes it even. Oh, crap. The fact that there's two authors on
I
this.
know. That is.
Shoot.
This one, that just makes this even better.
Oh, no. Oh, no. And then that makes me wonder, did one sister write, like, the present day? Did one write the flashbacks?
Flashback, yeah.
Oh.
Right? Or did they both write both parts together? Like,
Together?
Who knows?
I would definitely, if they come out with something that is a debut together, or if they have other things, I would definitely pick up anything that they've written just based on this part of the conversation alone. And I feel like we could go there a lot, but one of the other ones I did want to touch base on was Bloodstained Hands Like Yours. There were several quotes in there that I like. And that one did feel a little bit more hopeful at the end, right? So that's maybe also partially why I was like, oh, maybe that's the hope that she didn't eat him, or I'm sorry, that they didn't eat him. But yeah, there were several quotes that I pulled from that story, like on 183. And I liked that there was representation kind of across the spectrum of sexuality, right? Like we saw plenty of, straight stories. We saw plenty of like women on women love stories. We saw plenty like just across the spectrum of sexuality, which I thought was really nice. Yes. A really nice touch. But like on 183, one of the things that got me was like, in some deep and intrinsic way, Olivia knew she was unlovable. What a sentence. Like that is loaded. Like, ouch. That one was an ouchie ouch. I was not prepared. I was not okay with that.
Yep.
But I also liked on 184.
Which one was the bloodstained hands?
Yeah, bloodstained hands like yours. Yeah.
Okay.
With the girl from the orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I liked 184, the physical copy. A man so evil that when he died, hell didn't want him and the earth spat him back. Like, like it kind of gave me a little Pirates of the Caribbean feel too, right? Like of like Barbosa and like hell didn't want him and like, ooh, yikes, friends, yikes.
That's like, yeah, I had some quotes from there too. Page 90. He'd been a man once. All men have weaknesses. All men can be ended. Oh, I love it. And then he had said to her, because this was Corpo Secco, the guy who hell spit out. For some people, there's nothing worse than the end. But for you and me, for our kind, to keep going is the punishment, daughter.
Yes.
Just stab me in the heart.
But I would be surprised if Teresa didn't also like the last line of that particular story, because we've talked several times about how Teresa and I are both Enneagram 8s, right? And so the last couple of lines, Olivia shrugs, because I can't. Jenny looks at her and then kisses her properly. She's seen that freedom. And I mean, I walked my happy self right out to my boyfriend and I was like, I got to read this to you. And then I was like, this is how I feel about you. Like, you see me, right? but that is freedom to me. Like, but so that really resonated with me. So, Teresa, I would be surprised if it didn't also flag, like if you didn't flag it as attentive.
Yeah, I have starred by that last I have a star by the last word.
Yes, it's like, oh, that's so good.
Yes, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Oh, sorry. You can go.
I was just going to say real quick because you're mentioning wanting to read something else by the authors, Maritza. I did not realize, but they are the ones who wrote Dear Hazy, Love Elaine.
Did they?
Yeah, that is on my to read list. I haven't read it yet, but I've been wanting to read that one. So,
did they write it or was it they edited it? I'm sorry, I'm not.
That's the one of their books they wrote.
That's one that they wrote. Okay, cool.
Oh.
And also, they have a new one coming out April 2024.
Put it on the poll.
Yeah, it's called The Black Girl Survives in This One. And
okay.
All right.
There's no way I die first.
Yes. Well, I had on my want to read list their first book, one of the good ones, which is The Hate You Give meets Get Out.
Oh, that's a really good comp title.
Excuse me? Need to read like now.
I need to read all of them.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, I'm like wanting to read. And they have another book, The Summer I Ate the Rich,
And the rich. Yeah.
coming out in January. Oh,
Put it on the poll. I mean, I would be fine with any of these authors showing up on the poll
yeah.
anytime later.
Okay.
You know?
Hello.
It says that one, The Summer I Ate the Rich, is Haitian zombie lore.
Oh.
I'm here for
Inspired by
it.
Haitian zombie lore.
That sounds like an October pick for next year.
Yes, and I really loved the writing style too. So,
The zombie lore is the only one that I know a little bit about.
Okay.
My mom's told me a little about it.
Okay.
Cool.
Did anybody else have any other ones that they were like, oh, dying to talk about?
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're probably going to run a few minutes over, I would imagine, but we want to try and be mindful.
Make sure we wrap up. There was just this there were a couple quotes in Leave No Tracks by Julia Alvarez that was really beautiful. On page 290, that was where like the mother had committed suicide, and Guapa was like going back to San Juan where she wanted to be buried. But it had said, because I think the mom was dealing with depression, but it said on page 296, more and more, my mother's midnight moods never saw sunrise. Which, like,
that's a Taylor Swift line. If
I know. And then like they're talking about like, you know, the Inhumans, which are really the humans destroying the earth. On 309, she said, Mommy died by suicide, but this is a slow suicide / that. It's plain and simple murder of our Mother Earth.
Ooh.
Like, so there was just some like heavy, I was like, whoo, they're getting like deep, like, man. Just like,
wow.
Very beautiful lines.
What page was that on, Holly?
290. Well, those quotes were 296 and 309. So that one, Leave No Tracks. Let's see. Yeah, Leave No Tracks on page 295. Yeah. And then
there's one other quote I did highlight that of one of the stories I got to from Bloodkin. It's the last couple lines. It says, I think about the lemon trees on the mountain Grandpa and I will return to after we finish this journey. I have found the truth, and those who know the truth, who fight in law, who write the stories, those who protect our land, it is in them that our ferocity still lives.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Another thing, like our land is part of our very bodies. Yeah. So there were a couple that were like about the land.
Yeah, and I don't feel like that's something that you get as much in that kind of Americanized culture.
Yes. Yeah, I marked that one too. I was like, oh.
Yeah. There's some really, really great stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't they say they like were asking for what people wanted to see, and like overwhelmingly, like on Twitter or something, that overwhelmingly they were looking for more Latinx horror stories? I thought maybe that was in there, like,
oh, that would be in like the end, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere. I felt like I read that somewhere already, but yeah, I can't remember where I read it, but like it was like,
it all started with a tweet. Yeah. Oh, it all started with a tweet on May 22nd, 2020. I asked editors to put together an anthology featuring monsters from different Latin cultures. People asked me to edit it instead and offered to contribute their stories. Turns out others were craving more Latin horror.
Yeah, which is like I would say true. Like, 'cause I don't know that I could point to anything else on the market like this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we talk all the time about like why we do the club in general, and like how representation is so important. So like I could absolutely see that being the response from people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was like I said, I gave it 4.5. I really enjoyed most of the stories. And I love that they had like the Spanish language and just like the vocabulary and terminology, and I was just like, it made me feel so immersed in the culture. And
Absolutely. I would have enjoyed, because even though I do have a bit of a Spanish background, I would have enjoyed maybe like a glossary of terms somewhere, because there were some things that I didn't quite have familiarity with, or because of the different dialects that I couldn't necessarily piece together through context clues. So they're like, as immersed as I felt, it was also I was searching for understanding. So it pulled me out so that I could be immersed deeper, right? But like I may have personally just enjoyed a like glossary of terms that was, even if it was kind of a rough translation or a context of like, hey, like, the Loup-garou stories, right? We could see other references of them here, something kind of indexy glossary like that, that could just help me contextualize some of the pieces a little bit. But
I did look up a lot of stuff on Google when I read it the first time. Yeah, just see what it was. Like, I've never heard of that before.
Right.
So I did have to. Then I had Google saying some of the words for me, so I know how to pronounce some of the stuff. But
nice.
But I think I do want to listen to this on audio.
Oh yeah.
To hear the stories on audio, since I read the physical form of it.
Vanessa, did you like the audio stories? Because you said you listened to a lot of it on audio.
Yeah. I did. I like the audio. I haven't finished it yet.
Sure.
But from the stories that I've listened to, yeah.
You guys, did both of you get to The Other Side of the Mountains by Claribel Ortega?
I did skip ahead to that one.
Okay.
I did too. I skipped ahead because I knew her name.
Because I was like, oh, I did just want to talk, since we've all read, Witchlings and stuff, which was this, middle grade, which had some important themes, more serious themes in it. But this one was like, oh man, tear our hearts out with the old man, like La Bruja, like Junior trying to save his sister, and then Bate, this creepy old man with rotted teeth, that were just like, oh yeah, he's all backward and whatever, but he's helping Junior try to find his sister. And then they go back and he sees the blue ribbon in his things and realized that like he only saved him in the cave so that he could eat him. Oh my god, I was like, I didn't trust him, but I didn't know that he was the one who like also had killed his sister too. So that
right, because there's no way he would go against someone who was as good as family. Ouch.
Right.
Yeah. I had a line highlighted from that one too.
Ooh, nice.
Oh yeah, it was also the last paragraph in the story. Just when he kind of realizes that Bates was the one, and he was like, he knew then why it would be no use to go in the woods. Ari had always been dead. The bones used to pursue. Just like Lily's would be now.
Oh. No.
Oh,
Well,
I was gonna say, if you guys haven't read, I know we did Witchlings in our group, but before that, I had read Clarabelle's other book, Ghost Squad.
that's right.
oh, right.
I read that.
That one's a good one too.
Yes, I forgot there was another book I read of hers, but it wasn't through Diversity is Lit.
Yeah.
I'm in her short story, it was like that visual of the girl in the cave kissing Junior's face and then latching onto his neck and not letting go and sucking the life out of him. Like that was where I was like, oh dang, like okay, like like sometimes like slashers cutting heads off, that is like very gruesome and graphic, but that visual image is also just as like terrifying, maybe even more so.
Right. Well, it felt kind of Dementor-like to me, but it also felt, but when they were in the cave too with the Inferi, right? Like that, so there, that felt very, that part felt familiar. But yeah, I did also skip ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you read that. Okay, good. Because I was like, wait, there's one more I want to talk about because that was the only one that we all knew.
I was gonna say, I realized there's another author on the list that I recognize. I felt like the name was familiar, but I couldn't remember if I had read her or not. And I didn't get to her story, but I'm still gonna read it. The last one, Courtney Almeida. I do want to read that one since I've read a book by her, but I actually did not realize she was Latin, because the book I read called Seven Deadly Shadows. This one has Japanese characters.
Oh.
It's like Japan.
Oh,
maybe she's mixed. Maybe she's. If you thought, what did you think that was also an own story, an own voices?
I thought it was, but now I'm like, I don't know. I mean, because just from the picture, you can't really tell.
Right.
Just picture, you can't tell if she.
Oh yeah. Huh.
If she is mixed, in that way, but yeah. So I was surprised, because I saw her where I read her book that was based on Japanese culture, and I assumed she was
Interesting. You definitely need to read that one, because that was another. I was like, what was that one again? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, that one was so good. There's some good like themes of the racism and stuff.
Which one?
The Hour of the Wolf, the one by Courtney Almeida. Yeah, it was really good. The lesson in that. And the first line, before the theater lights even went out, Adriana Perez knew she'd made a mistake.
Oh, that's a great first line.
I was like, well, I gotta find out what the mistake was. So please, definitely, yeah, read that one because I also like that one. I'm glad I rated this a 5 because I was like, the ones that are bangers, like, man, they're bangers. So yeah.
So what did you guys think about the La Madrina?
Oh, that was one I hadn't read yet.
I didn't get it.
Okay.
What did you think of that one, T?
I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I didn't have very many notes on that one. I didn't quite resonate with that one as much. She just saved a girl from a car accident.
I think it's a car accident. I was like, so.
But isn't Madrina like godmother, like fairy godmother?
Oh, is it La Madrina?
It's. I think it's either
That's
fairy
what
tale
I
mother or
thought.
stepmother. Does
Oh.
one of those give you more context?
Oh yeah, godmother.
Well,
So maybe like her fairy godmother kind of thing.
Yeah, that I was pretty sure La Madrina was fairy godmother, but once again,
Okay.
fairy tales,
because she's saying that I was done with life, done. Heaven wouldn't want me, all ruined like this in body and soul, and I was tired of hell.
Oh, that's more interesting.
I was like, wait.
Maybe I need to reread that one.
I'll have
I
to
was
read
like,
that one because I was like, I probably won't. Yeah, but
I'm like, okay, I have to reread that again because I think it has to do with the car wreck, but I don't know if she was trying to get away from somebody
Mm-hmm.
because she says something about not taking her back to him.
well, if
I'm gonna have to reread that one again.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. But if she's not taking him back and she's done with hell, or like hell's done with her,
Yeah,
maybe she's not taking him back to the devil.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reread that one again.
I'll have to read that and see if I've got an opinion.
I was like, I wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting that story, and I was like, wait, I know it's about the car wreck, but I'm trying to find out, is he supposed to be the hell that she's not taking her back to?
Oh.
Or is it because he's like supposed to be like her boss?
I don't know.
So that one kind of confused me.
Yeah, I'll have to reread that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got to read The Hour of the Wolf again, too.
Yes, definitely reread that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to get super hungry, ladies.
Yeah, I was going to say we're a little over. We'll be wrapping up. So,
yes.
Yeah, if anyone wants to talk about more of the short stories or talk more in depth about the short stories that we did talk about, feel free to drop a comment or chat in the Goodreads group or in the Discord group. And then please join us next month for our discussion of our December Book of the Month pick. We are The Origin by C.M. Lockhart. This is our indie pick. I started it. I'm 44 pages in and really enjoying it so far. Very strong writing and I know we'll have good discussion. So thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for joining again for a fun discussion, and we will see you next month.